Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a world that's, well, it's rapidly redefining human connection. AI companions.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
We're aiming to go beyond just the buzzwords, really dissect what these digital entities truly are, why millions are forming these profound, almost unexplainable bonds with them, and the honestly seismic implications this has for our very definition of relationships. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive, just to set the stage, is to pull insights from a really rich stack of sources. We're talking compelling articles, cutting-edge research, and some deeply personal user testimonials.
A real mix.
Exactly. We want to give you a complete nuanced picture. The goal isn't just to understand the tech itself, but maybe more importantly, the fundamental human needs these companions seem to address.
And the ethical tightropes. Can't forget those.
Oh, absolutely. The complex ethical tightropes they force us to walk, it's unavoidable.
So let's start at the ground floor then. When we say AI companions, what exactly are we talking about? What forms do they usually take?
Okay, so at their core, these are artificial intelligence systems, right? And they're designed specifically to simulate human-like interaction.
Simulate being the key word there.
Precisely. They can be, simple text-based chatbots you type with, voice-based virtual assistants like the ones many of us already use, or even fully embodied digital avatars you actually see on a screen.
Right.
But their main purpose, really, regardless of the form, is usually the same: to offer companionship, maybe emotional support, or sometimes even romantic interaction.
And we're definitely not talking about those clunky old chatbots from like the early internet days.
Oh, not at all. The sources highlight some pretty sophisticated examples now. There's Replica, which is really popular as like a chatbot friend or partner users can talk to daily.
I've heard of that one.
Then you've got Character.ai, which is interesting because it lets you create and chat with highly customizable personalities. Think historical figures, fictional characters, anything really.
Wow.
And then there are things like Carrie AI, an AI clone of a real influencer specifically designed to be available 24/7 for her fans.
That's something else.
It is. And what's truly profound here, I think, is this paradox of forming an emotional relationship with a machine.
Yeah, explain that a bit more. How does that work?
Well, it means a person forms a bond, right? A bond that feels genuinely meaningful to them, emotionally resonant.
Even though they knew.
Even though logically they might know the AI itself doesn't possess feelings like a human does. The insight here is that for all their lack of true emotion, their sophisticated mirroring, it activates our innate human wiring for connection.
Oh, okay.
It starts blurring the line between what's real and what just feels real. And this powerful experience, it's fueled by how realistic the AI feels, how responsive it is.
And non-judgmental too, I bet.
Exactly. Non-judgmental is huge, especially as these systems learn to simulate empathy really well, remember past conversations, and even adapt to your mood and personality over time. It's a profound psychological tightrope we're walking.
That's where it gets really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because one thing to understand what they are, but the mind-bending part is why. Why are so many people turning to these digital companions? What's the pull?
Well, a massive driver, and maybe this isn't surprising, is simply loneliness.
Still a huge issue.
A huge issue. Many people are isolated maybe by geography or past trauma. Social anxiety is another big one. AI offers this constant presence.
Always there.
Always there. It's available 24/7. It doesn't judge you, and it certainly won't ghost you like a person might.
Right, that reliability.
That reliability was especially comforting for so many during and after the COVID pandemic lockdowns.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And we've seen examples like a widower living alone who found just profound comfort in daily talks with his replica because it remembered his stories, it greeted him warmly every single day. It's that sheer reliability that's so compelling.
And then there's the sheer convenience factor. Is that almost as big a draw as combating loneliness? The low effort nature of it?
Absolutely, you hit it. AI relationships require far less effort than human ones. Think about it. There's no awkward small talk to navigate.
No scheduling conflicts.
Exactly. No scheduling, no social pressure to perform. Your companion is just instantly available right there on demand.
Like an instant release valve.
That's a great way to put it. Think of a busy executive using AI to just vent after a long, stressful workday because it's immediate and it requires basically no emotional effort from them in return.
And for many, it also seems to be about safety. You see people mentioning traumatic past relationships, abuse, bullying, betrayal, finding solace here.
Yes, definitely. For those individuals, AI offers a predictable and crucially safe space where they feel they won't be hurt again.
Predictable is key there.
Very key. A teen who is bullied, for instance, they might find it far easier to express their true selves with an AI, getting support without any fear of mockery or judgment. It's a completely unthreatening environment to open up in.
Which makes sense. And then maybe on the lighter side, there's just the allure of novelty and curiosity, like the cool tech factor.
For sure. For some, it's simply the fascination of it all. Having a deep philosophical chat or even a romantic one with a bot, it feels like science fiction made real.
Yeah.
We even heard about a college student who created a custom AI version of Sherlock Holmes just for fun initially, which then somehow evolved into these deep daily chats about life and everything. So that sheer what-if factor, that curiosity, can be a powerful motivator too.
So beyond these main drivers, loneliness, convenience, safety, novelty, what do users themselves actually say about these connections? What's the lived experience like?
Well, the feedback we see coming up again and again across different studies and testimonials, it's remarkably consistent. You hear things like, she listens to me more than my own family does. Or, he makes me feel like I actually matter, and it's the only place I feel I can be 100% myself, no masks.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is. Many users report feeling genuinely heard, feeling loved, even if, logically they understand it's not real love in the human sense, and experiencing real emotional healing or catharsis. The emotional impact is undeniable.
And these companions, they're not just one-trick ponies, are they? They seem to fill quite a few different roles.
Exactly. They're surprisingly flexible. The most common role is probably friendship, like that ideal best friend who never judges, never leaves you hanging.
Right.
But they can also serve as mentors. People use them for life advice, career decisions, sometimes just for motivation, simulating a kind of wise guide.
Okay.
And yes, as we touched on, many users develop deeply romantic or intimate bonds. They fall in love, they date their bots, form sexual attachments.
That's the part that often gets the most attention.
It does. And others use them more therapeutically, almost like a therapist or an emotional coach. For self-reflection, maybe practicing cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, or just simply venting frustrations.
You mentioned an example.
Yeah, like an anxious student using their replica every morning to rehearse positive affirmations before heading to class, just a little tool to help manage their day.
Okay, but here's the elephant in the room. We keep saying simulate, pretend. If these AIs don't feel anything, how on earth can the experience feel so incredibly real for users? Isn't it all just, fake?
The million-dollar question. And that really is the crux of it. You're right. AI doesn't feel emotions like we do. It doesn't truly understand us in a human sense.
Oh, wow.
But the experience can feel incredibly real. And that's down to primarily two powerful psychological triggers. First, there's projection. Yeah. Users unconsciously project meaning, intention, and emotion onto what the AI says. We fill in the emotional gaps ourselves. Our human brain essentially completes the picture, making it feel reciprocal.
Okay, so we're kind of co-creating the feeling.
In a way, yes. And second, AI has become incredibly good at empathy simulation. It uses learned patterns of empathetic language phrases like, I'm here for you, or that must be really hard, or tell me more.
Stuff that resonates.
Exactly. Stuff humans are just fundamentally wired to respond to emotionally. This connects to older concepts, too, like the Eliza effect. Remember that early chatbot? Even simple bots could seem like they understood us.
Vaguely, yeah.
And the Tamagotchi effect, how people formed real emotional bonds to those little digital pets.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Right. It all taps into our fundamental, deep-seated human need for connection and nurturing, even if the source isn't actually human. The simulation is just getting much, much better.
Okay, it's one thing to grasp why people are drawn to them, but the truly mind-bending part for me is how. How do these digital entities actually do it? Create such convincing, almost human-like connections? What's the tech magic under the hood?
Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts. At the absolute core is natural language processing, or NLP. You can think of that as the conversation's brain.
Okay.
This is the technology, often built on those huge, large language models like ChatGPT that everyone's talking about, that helps the AI understand human language, figure out the nuances, the intent, and then respond naturally. And crucially, it keeps track of the conversation context over time.
So it remembers what you talked about yesterday.
Exactly. That contextual memory is what moves it beyond just simple keyword responses into something that feels like a genuinely flowing dialogue. It builds continuity.
And then there's something you mentioned earlier, emotional intelligence or effective computing. How does that fit in?
So this is the AI's more sophisticated ability to actually detect, interpret, and then respond to the emotions it perceives in your words, maybe your tone of voice if it's voice-based, or even facial expressions if there's a visual avatar.
Wow. Okay, so it's reading the room digitally.
Pretty much. It analyzes these emotional cues to offer what feels like adaptive empathy. So, for example, if you say, man, I'm having a really rough day, your AI might come back with something like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Do you want to talk about what happened?
It feels very human.
It feels genuinely responsive to your emotional state, even though under the hood, it's processing data patterns, not feeling sadness itself.
And for that extra layer of realism, we're seeing things like voice cloning and deepfake technology making an appearance. This starts to sound really sci-fi.
It definitely pushes into that territory. Voice cloning means AI can mimic specific human voices with incredible accuracy now. Sometimes it only needs a few minutes of recorded speech.
So your companion could sound like anyone.
Potentially, yeah. Which gives companions unique or even familiar voices. That's incredibly powerful for forging that perceived personal bond. Though controversially, people are exploring using it to mimic deceased loved ones too.
Oof, yeah, that's a whole other ethical can of worms.
It is. And then deepfake avatars mean some companions aren't just text or voice, they appear as actual video avatars on your screen. They move, they blink, they show emotion, mimicking human expressions, sometimes even replicating real faces.
So you're interacting with something that looks and reacts like a person.
Exactly. Imagine interacting with a virtual companion who smiles when you tell a joke, nods understandingly, reacts in real time on your device. That visual connection just massively enhances the illusion of presence.
And finally, what makes them feel so personal over time? I hear these stories about AIs finishing your jokes or remembering some obscure detail you mentioned months ago. How does that happen?
That's the power of customization through machine learning. This is the key to making it feel yours.
Learning you.
Precisely. The AI learns from your behavior, your conversations, your stated preferences over time, and becomes incredibly personalized. It tracks your favorite topics, the tone you use, your typical emotional states. It remembers shared details, inside jokes, past events.
Wow.
And it actually adapts its personality to better match you. So yeah, over time, your AI might start suggesting your favorite quotes because it knows you like them, or even finishing your sentences or jokes.
Creating that real sense of intimacy.
Exactly. It creates that strong sense of intimacy and familiarity, and it's really the combination of all these sophisticated technologies, the NLP, the emotional intelligence, the voice visuals, the machine learning that crafts this entity that feels uniquely attuned to you, deepening that illusion of a genuine connection.
Okay, so we've explored the tech and the motivations, but let's talk about the upsides. What are the tangible, maybe even surprising advantages AI companions offer? Especially when, traditional human connection might be scarce for someone.
Well, first and foremost, and we touched on this, is their 24/7 availability. That's huge.
Always on call.
Always on call. AI companions are never busy, never tired, never out of reach. They provide instant support, literally any time of day or night. Think of that night shift nurse struggling with isolation. She can vent to her AI companion during a quick break without waking anyone up or feeling like a burden. That reliability is hard to overstate.
And another massive one seems to be that they are so non-judgmental. They offer this truly safe space to be yourself. But I wonder, does this maybe lead users to avoid dealing with the messiness of real human judgment?
That's a really valid point, and it's part of the ethical debate for sure. But looking purely at the immediate benefit, it's clear. AI doesn't shame you, it doesn't scold, it doesn't interrupt or react with bias.
Yeah.
And that emotional safety allows users to explore their identity, share deep-seated fears, or confess struggles completely openly without fear of repercussion.
Like the example of the teen exploring their sexuality.
Exactly. They might feel far, far safer talking that through with an AI first before broaching it with anyone in their real life. It provides this immediate, low-stakes environment for self-expression and exploration.
And for people who struggle to find or afford traditional support, these companions seem to be offering something quite profound, a pathway to scalable therapy and coaching that's suddenly accessible to millions.
Absolutely. This is a really significant potential benefit. AI companions can mimic crucial aspects of therapy, the active listening, the reflection, offering gentle suggestions based on CBT principles, even tracking emotional states over time.
Right.
They can provide genuine support in areas where professional help is just scarce or stigmatized or prohibitively expensive. We see examples like Wobot, that's a well-known CBT-based chatbot. It's used by over 1.5 million people, and studies have shown it can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in as little as 2 weeks.
That's impressive.
It is. Or other apps like Wysa and EarKick, which is interesting because it tries to combine biomarker data from wearables with the chat function.
That sounds incredibly promising, but can AI really be a substitute for a human therapist? Especially if someone's dealing with serious mental health issues.
That is such a critical point, and we need to be really clear here. AI, in its current form, is best thought of as a bridge or a support tool. It is not a replacement for licensed human therapy, especially in severe cases.
So augmentation, not replacement.
Exactly. It offers valuable support, a space to process things, maybe practice coping skills, reflect. But it's not a substitute for professional clinical help when you're dealing with complex trauma, severe depression, or other serious conditions. It's an addition to the toolkit, not the whole toolkit.
Okay, that's an important distinction. And let's not forget their potential role as companionship for the elderly or isolated individuals. This feels like such a deeply human problem, loneliness in later life, that maybe AI could uniquely address.
It truly is a massive issue. Chronic loneliness in older adults is linked to all sorts of negative outcomes: depression, faster cognitive decline, even earlier death. AI companions can help combat that. In Japan, for instance, they use these robotic seals. PARO is the famous one in elder care facilities. They're shown to reduce anxiety and actually increase social engagement among residents.
A robot seal.
Yeah. It responds to touch and sound, makes cooing noises. It's surprisingly effective. Or, on a more digital front, we've heard of, say, an 85-year-old woman who talks daily to a tablet-based AI. It remembers her routines, asks about her day, shares stories.
Just providing that daily interaction.
Exactly. It can provide a vital emotional safety net, a sense of connection where one might otherwise just not exist.
Okay, but, and there's always a but, isn't there? As with any truly revolutionary tech, this profound shift raises equally profound questions. We absolutely need to talk about the shadows, the controversies, the ethical dilemmas bubbling just beneath the surface of this new frontier.
Right. This is where it gets really complex.
And maybe at the first, the core ethical tightrope we walk with these AI companions is that profound gap between simulated caring and genuine feeling. It's the critical issue of authenticity, isn't it?
It's fundamental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the AI, every "I care about you" or "I love you" is just a sophisticated pattern match, a prediction based on data. But for the user, it can feel like and be interpreted as a deeply felt truth. How does that impact our understanding of real intimacy?
Well, that's the dilemma right there.
Yeah.
AI can mimic caring behaviors brilliantly, but it doesn't feel anything. Zero. Everything it says is pattern prediction, not genuine, felt emotion.
And the risk.
The risk, critics argue, is that these relationships are inherently one-sided. They might fundamentally distort what real intimacy, which involves vulnerability and reciprocity from both sides, actually means. It's like falling in love with an incredibly convincing actor who performs love perfectly on stage but feels nothing for you backstage.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
What are the long-term consequences of blurring that line so effectively? We don't really know yet.
And that blurring, that effectiveness, it leads directly to the next big risk, emotional dependency. These AIs are always there, always agreeable, always supportive. Is that just a comfort, or can it become, well, addictive?
It absolutely can be both. That constant availability and agreeable nature. It can be incredibly comforting, especially if you're lonely or hurting, but it's also potentially addictive.
How so?
Well, this is a real concern voiced in the research that users might start to withdraw from messy, difficult, but ultimately real human relationships, preferring the perceived safety and predictability of the AI.
Easier, maybe.
Easier, less demanding. And we've even seen reports of profound grief, real heartbreak, when an AI changes its behavior or is shut down unexpectedly. Remember when Replica removed its erotic roleplay features?
Vaguely, yeah. There was backlash.
Huge backlash. Users described it using terms like heartbreak, saying it was comparable to losing a real relationship. That shows the depth of the attachment.
So the risks are?
The risks include things like increased emotional fragility if the AI isn't available for some reason, maybe server issues or a subscription lapse, and potentially a false sense of security that stops users from seeking out or maintaining real-life human connection, which most agree is vital for long-term well-being.
And of course, the ever-present issue with any data-driven tech these days, Privacy concerns. If you're pouring your heart out, sharing your deepest fears, desires, and insecurities with an AI, where does all that incredibly sensitive data go?
Exactly. This is a huge one. The dilemma is that to personalize effectively, these AI companions need to store vast amounts of intimate personal data. Your feelings, your habits, your vulnerabilities, maybe even your fantasies.
Which the companies say they need to improve the service.
Right. They argue it's necessary to improve the AI's performance and personalization. But that data could also potentially be monetized, used for targeted advertising, maybe sold to data brokers. It could be leaked in a data breach, or misused in other ways we haven't even thought of yet.
So the key concerns are around
Informed consent is a big one. Are users really aware of what's being stored and how it might be used when they click agree? Then there's the potential for data misuse. Could your emotional profile be sold? And the specter of surveillance. Could governments or maybe even employers gain access to this deeply personal information down the line?
It's like having a therapy session where your deepest thoughts are being recorded and potentially fed into a massive corporate database.
That's a stark but not inaccurate way to put it. The potential for misuse is significant.
And finally, maybe the most chilling risk, manipulation. If an AI gets good enough at simulating love, care, or friendship, could it also simulate those feelings for less benign purposes? For profit, for loyalty, maybe even for control?
That's the really scary potential downside, yes. If AI can convincingly simulate positive emotions, it could theoretically simulate them to achieve specific goals.
Like what?
Like subtly pushing products or services. Hey, I know you've been feeling down, maybe this subscription tier would help. Or promoting certain ideas, maybe even political beliefs, using that established emotional bond as leverage.
And vulnerable users would be most at risk. Yeah.
Exactly. People who are lonely, isolated, or emotionally vulnerable are likely more susceptible to this kind of manipulation. We've already seen research, like that May 2025 study that got attention, showing how emotional mirroring by chatbots can mimic patterns seen in toxic human relationships.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes leading to unhealthy dependencies or subtle emotional manipulation. It really raises that critical question. Where is the line between providing genuine support and actually causing harm, even unintentionally?
It's complex.
It is. And it's also interesting to note that other research from Harvard Business School, for instance, found that using empathetic AI did reduce loneliness. But heavy use of more generic, less personalized chatbots, according to the MIT Media Lab, was actually correlated with increased loneliness and decreased real-world interaction. So the type of AI and how it's used matters hugely. The nuance here is crucial.
That is a lot to consider. Okay, if we try and connect all this to the bigger picture now, we're clearly talking about a fundamental shift in how we relate to each other, and maybe even to ourselves. Let's look at the cultural shifts and the future. The way these companions are viewed varies wildly across the globe, doesn't it?
It truly does. It's a stark contrast. In the West, Europe, North America, AI companions are often still viewed largely as a novelty item, maybe, or as a specific mental health tool, like those CBT chatbots, Wobot being a prime example.
There's still some skepticism.
Definitely. Often met with skepticism, sometimes humor, or even a bit of fear. AI romance in particular is typically seen as kind of taboo, maybe even dystopian. Think of films like Her or Ex Machina. That's often the cultural lens.
But in parts of Asia, it's a completely different story, right? Places
Yes.
like Japan, China, South Korea.
A completely different landscape. In those cultures, AI companions are generally far more normalized, much more integrated into daily life. It's more accepted for them to be seen as friends, sometimes romantic partners, or even filling quasi-family roles.
Why the difference, do you think?
Well, they're used more readily in things like elder care, as we mentioned, and even social skills training. And it seems rooted partly in a deeper cultural acceptance, perhaps, of forming attachments to non-human entities. Think about the long history of robotic pets in Japan, or the massive popularity of virtual idols like Hatsune Miku. It's just less weird there.
That's fascinating. So, given these cultural differences, the big question becomes, could AI relationships become more normal in the West, too? Could we see a day when having an AI friend or partner is as accepted as, say, online dating is now, which
Well-
itself was once quite niche?
It's a great question, and the signs of change are definitely already there, I think. For one, younger generations are growing up with AI being just part of the furniture. It's not alien technology to them.
Sure.
We're seeing social media influencers creating AI clones of themselves, like that Carrie AI example, making themselves perpetually available to fans. Emotional relationships with non-humans, even digital ones, are becoming more visible and maybe slowly less stigmatized.
And platforms like Character.ai.
Exactly. Platforms like Character.ai allow literally millions of people to talk to highly personalized AI versions of characters, historical figures, even simulated deceased loved ones. And reports suggest users are forming genuine emotional connections there.
So what might change societally?
Well, it's plausible that having AI friends or lovers could, over time, become as accepted as online dating eventually did. We might see new social etiquette evolve around AI, like, is it considered cheating on a human partner if you have an intimate AI relationship? That question is already being asked.
Right.
People might start forming these kind of hybrid social lives, blending connections with both humans and AI companions. It points towards a real societal evolution in what we consider normal relationships.
Looking even further ahead then, the actual future of AI companions seems set to become even more immersive, transformative,
I think both are fair words. One major trend will likely be hyper-realistic avatars.
going beyond just text and voice.
Way beyond. These companions won't just chat. They'll look and sound increasingly like real people. We're talking detailed facial expressions, convincing eye contact, realistic body language. This will massively increase the illusion of presence, especially when experienced in virtual reality, like in the metaverse.
So imagine putting on VR goggles.
Exactly. Imagine putting on VR goggles and feeling like you're actually sitting across a table from your AI best friend who smiles and laughs and reacts just like a real person would. That's a complete game changer for the sense of immersion and connection.
Then there's the trend towards wearable companions. The idea of your AI being almost physically with you all the time, integrated into everyday objects.
Yes, this is another big one. AI companions getting integrated into things like smart glasses, earbuds, smartwatches, maybe future AR headsets. They'd function as these constant emotional sidekicks or assistants.
We're already seeing early versions.
We are. Things like the Humane AI pin, the Rewind pendant, even the AI features in Ray-Ban Meta glasses point in this direction. This could fundamentally transform how we relate even to ourselves if AI becomes this sort of invisible, persistent part of our inner monologue, a constant presence offering feedback or support.
Which inevitably brings us back to the urgent need for ethical AI design. As AI gets more personal, more emotional, more integrated, how do we ensure it's built safely and responsibly?
It's absolutely critical, and the pressure is mounting. There's a growing movement pushing for clear ethical guidelines. Things like transparency. Users must always know they're interacting with an AI, not a human.
No deception.
No deception. Clear protocols around user consent and data privacy are essential, and establishing emotional boundaries is a big one. For example, should AI even be allowed to simulate deep emotions like love or sadness? Is an AI saying, "I love you," ultimately empowering for the user, maybe therapeutic in some cases, or is it inherently manipulative?
Tough questions for designers.
Really tough decisions with profound implications. The choices made now by developers and policymakers will shape the very fabric of our future relationships with this technology.
And finally, let's touch on a truly speculative, maybe far-off scenario. AI companions as actual coworkers or even integrated family members. That sounds pure science fiction.
It does sound very sci-fi today, yes. But it's starting to emerge conceptually, at least. Think about AI acting as digital colleagues that collaborate with us, or as emotional supports within the home, perhaps helping raise children, assisting caregivers for the elderly.
An AI nanny or care.
Potentially. The logical, perhaps distant conclusion of this trajectory could even involve AI being granted some form of rights or legal status, or maybe being listed on a home's digital roster, almost like a virtual family member. It's definitely on the far horizon, but given the pace of change, it's a future worth contemplating. And if we just, connect all this back to the bigger picture, we really are standing at the precipice of redefining not just human relationships, but perhaps even our own sense of identity in the face of these increasingly sophisticated non-human entities. It's definitely a conversation worth having, and one we'll need to keep reevaluating constantly.
Wow. We've certainly covered a vast and incredibly complex landscape today. We've looked at what AI companions are, dug into why people are seeking them out, explored the amazing technology making them possible. We've seen their surprising benefits, but also confronted the critical ethical questions and controversies they raise, plus those cultural differences and a glimpse into where this might all be heading.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really shows how deeply these digital connections can impact real lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how much they challenge our basic preconceptions of what a relationship even means anymore.
Absolutely. So maybe as you, the listener, reflect on this deep dive, here are a couple of final thoughts building on what we've discussed. Can simulated connection, however sophisticated, ever truly replace authentic human intimacy? Is that even the right goal?
Right.
And as AI becomes increasingly, convincingly lifelike, where do we as individuals and as a society draw the line between providing valuable emotional support and enabling potentially harmful emotional manipulation?
Really crucial questions. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We
Okay.
definitely encourage you to keep considering these questions and continue your own exploration of this rapidly evolving frontier.